fifth grade. So for our second part of our Repousse lesson, we are going to be doing a landscape. This is called a landscape, which is usually an outdoor scene, either in the country or the city or the ocean. And right now, this landscape is two-dimensional. It's flat. It's a piece of paper. Okay? Our goal is to kind of make a sculpture out of it. Now, sculptures are 3D works of art. So if you look at this, okay, you can see that it has parts that stick out, and then parts that go back, and then the original metal is flat. So we've kind of made something that's 3D out of something that is 2D. And if you look at these, this is the same picture, okay? And there are different ways that we have to mess with this to get it to look the way mine does. So the first thing you are going to do is you are going to literally trace all the lines, except for the lines inside of the trees. So you just simply watch me do this, and you'll understand that. And you want to press pretty hard, and you want to be doing this over a piece of cardboard. Okay. I did not do any of the lines in here. Don't do those. Leave those out. Okay? And you're just going to keep going and trace every single black line on paper, over the cardboard, pressing nice and hard. Pencil broke, but that's okay because it'll still do the same thing. And I'm going to keep doing that until I get all these lines traced very, very carefully, except for the ones inside this tree and inside this tree. So you may pause the video and go ahead and take care of that. Okay, so now I have all my lines traced with a pencil. I'm actually going to be switching to something called a stylus, okay? And this is kind of like a pencil, but with no lead at the end. And these are made specifically for either scratch art, which some of you may have done before, and repousse. So, what you are going to do first is we're going to mess with the river. Do that first, and then we're going to do the sky. So, we're going to carefully remove our landscape picture. And we're going to look at where the river is, and that part is going to get pressed down. And you might get some little seams and bunches of metal, okay? And if you want to try using the back of the stylus, that can work too. In fact, that's working really, really nice. So I would use the tip for the small parts and then the back for the rest. Okay, you're going to take your little river all the way to the bottom of the paper. Like this. And you can go back over it a couple times. To make sure that it's pushed down. You kind of use your muscles for this. Go a couple different directions over the metal until it's nice and flat. All right, so I did my river. And now, I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to do the sky. The sky is this area right here. And then this area right here. Don't worry about the end of the metal right here because there was no picture there. All right, so I can start by using the tip of the stylus to get around my pine tree, if I wanted to. And then the back of the stylus for the big open areas of the sky. So I'm going to go and do this area in here, being careful not to cut myself on the edge of the metal. And anytime I have some small spots, just flip the stylus and get in there with it. And we're going to go along the edge of where the mountains meet the sky, pressing down on top of the cardboard until you finish this whole upper area. So pause the video and take care of that. So as you can see, I've now done the water of the river and the sky. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to flip this thing over to the silver side. And I'm going to take my pointy end of my stylus and I'm going to do my two pine trees. And you can kind of see where they are in the metal. And if you want to do this to make it look like a real pine tree, you make these little curvy lines like this, going down the middle. And go over it a couple times with it, and then have them curve the other way down the other side. And what's happening right now is I'm pushing all that metal that's on the back, pushing it out towards the cardboard. And it's going to create a really neat look. So I got one pine tree over here. It's kind of hard to see, but it is there. And again, I'm making these little curved lines going down the middle like this. And they're curving that way. And then the other ones are curving the other way. It's a simple way to do a pine tree. Almost done. Okay, so I got my two big pine trees finished. Remember I said that's the part we don't have to mess with because there's nothing there. Then I want you to do all the little pine trees. So you just use the tip and go inside of where our little pine trees were, in front of the mountains. Do all those little guys. I did this right, kids. When I turn it back over, I'm going to have my really cool looking landscape with things sticking off the metal and then things going back so that it's three-dimensional. You can see that texture we made with the pine trees turned out really, really cool. Okay, so it does take a lot of effort with your fingers, and if they get sore, you just kind of wiggle them a little bit, get that blood flowing. Just remember that you want to try and go over these places maybe more than once to get them to stretch even more. And if you don't think it's sticking out enough, you can always go back over it and push down even more. And it'll actually make it go deeper. Okay, so that is up to you. When you are finished, you're going to come up front and get a black Sharpie and write your name on the silver side, which is the back. And you're going to pick up a sculpture word search from me and complete that and turn it in as well.